Welcome, everybody. Welcome back, I should say, to the Gridiron Expert. And tonight, a special night. Welcome to the 2024 Gridiron Expert Mock Draft. We are ecstatic, so pumped to be back. We've obviously been producing content for you guys over the last few months, really ever since the national championship ended. But now tonight, I feel like is the unofficial start of the college football season. Talking about the NFL draft. Going to break down the entire first round tonight. All 32 picks in the first round coming at you tonight. And this is an NFL draft, guys, that really feels unpredictable, unlike other years, right? I mean, we never know what's going to happen on draft night. Anything can happen. But this year, out of all of them, feels really, really different. We kind of know what's going to happen maybe in the earlier picks, maybe in the top 5, maybe. And after that, it's kind of a crapshoot. No one really knows. Tons of trades, I would expect, not just with picks, but also with assets, with potential players. We truly don't know what's going to happen tomorrow night when the draft gets going in. I believe it's Detroit, right? You're kind of bouncing around a little bit. But we are so glad that all of you guys could be here with us tonight to spend your Wednesday night with us as we break down these picks. The way the draft is structured tonight is we're going to go through the first 16, the first half of the first round, kind of more in depth. And then the final 16 picks, so 17 through 32, we will be covering those players. We'll be covering those picks. We'll kind of speed it up a little bit because we do want to get to your questions and your comments in the chat. So we're going to make sure that we address everybody in that chat tonight. Already see we've got a few guys in there. Our man Scotty B, the Baylor King, Eddie Rose, Robert, all of you guys. We appreciate you being here. Big members of our GE Nation. And the same goes to all of you that are watching or will be watching later. We appreciate having you here. So we're excited, guys. We really are. We got our draft cards here. Got our 32 picks as handed in from the teams themselves. And we're really excited to see where this goes. And Doggy, it's good to see you. It has been a while, but like we said, this is the unofficial start. This is more live streams are going to pick up from this. Prediction season's about 2 months out. We are really in kind of hitting the ground running. After tonight, we're going to take like probably the rest of the weekend off to prep, and then the ground really goes. We're going hard come May, which is 1 week from today. 1 week from today. So we're really, really excited to get it going. But let's not delay any further. You guys came here for a draft. You came here for a mock draft. Let's go ahead and dive into it. And on the clock, as we know, we've got the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are on the clock. And with the number 1 pick in the Gridiron Expert 2024 mock draft, we've got Caleb Williams. We're not going to go that fast for all of them, right? But we all know that Caleb Williams is going number 1 overall. Again, we're not gonna rush through these picks like we just did with the Bears. But if the Bears go with anybody other than Caleb Williams, it might go down as the biggest draft day decision in history. He is without a doubt the best quarterback. The Bears kind of made it clear that they were definitely going with Caleb Williams and going with the quarterback when they traded Justin Fields, got rid of him just a few months ago. It's Caleb Williams or bust in Chicago. Completed over 64% of his passes all 3 seasons with the USC Trojans, in 1 year, of course, with Oklahoma. Over 120 total touchdowns to just 14 interceptions. Was a 2022 Heisman winner. Best quarterback in this draft. Every intangible you want in a quarterback, Caleb Williams got it. There obviously are concerns about his mindset. How great of a leader can he be? Can he win over this Chicago locker room with his off-field antics, with maybe the drama that he brings to the table? But there was no doubt about it that he is the best talent, maybe in the entire draft, certainly the position. And Chicago is getting a true winner with their first pick. So again, that's kind of an obvious selection there. Caleb Williams going to the Bears. After that, though, we've got the Washington Commanders. Now, this is where things get interesting, too. We know and we expect that the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. I think we all expect Caleb Williams to go first, like we mentioned, and then the Commanders are second and the Patriots are third. And we're going to get that second. The matter of who goes second, who goes third. Do the Patriots trade out? Do the Commanders trade out? What's going to happen here? Washington, obviously, in a new era of their own, hiring Dan Quinn away from Dallas. Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator with the Cowboys, had a great defense the last few years, never did anything with it, never got past the divisional round, but still had a solid defense, obviously has head coaching experience with the Falcons, led them to a Super Bowl where they fell to the Patriots 28-3, as we know, that comeback there. But this is a new era for Washington. Got a proven head coach, a guy that I think is going to do very well there, but they've got to have a quarterback. And kind of like Chicago, they made it very evident that they were going quarterback. They weren't interested in anybody else when they traded Sam Howell away. So with the second overall pick in the 2024 Gridiron Expert mock draft, the Washington Commanders select Jayden Daniels from LSU. And that's kind of what we were saying, right? Is it going to be Jayden Daniels at number 2? Is it going to be Drake May at number 3 or vice versa? That's the question. Jayden Daniels or Drake May? That's the decision that Washington has to decide. I think that the Commanders go Jayden Daniels. He's a guy that, in this day of football, mobility is key. It doesn't always pan out in the NFL. Running effectively is a lot harder in the NFL than it was in college. But if you're looking from that dual threat capability, Daniels has got it. Drake May doesn't. He was a 2023 Heisman winner with over 3,800 yards, 40 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. Rushed for over 1,100 yards last year in 10 touchdowns. So again, 50 total touchdowns to just 4 interceptions. Only had 7 interceptions in 2 years with the Tigers. That's it. 7 interceptions in 2 years at LSU and had over 2,000 rushing yards. Whether or not that can translate over to success in the NFL, that remains to be seen. We've seen quarterbacks do it. Lamar Jackson does it. I think that's actually a solid comparison is taking Lamar Jackson, Jayden Daniels, and comparing the two. I think it's a fair one. Jalen Hurts has done it. You go farther back, Cam Newton did it. Michael Vick did it. Like, we've seen quarterbacks come into the NFL, thrive as a passer, but also really thrive as a runner. Jayden Daniels could be that next guy. I think that's who the Commanders are going to end up taking, and I think he can end up faring pretty well. And what really is going to be a wide open NFC East. You think about it, when you want to make the playoffs, you can make the playoffs if you just win your division. And the NFC East, the Cowboys and the Eagles are going to be the favorites, but the Eagles were pretty bad last year. I mean, from a disappointment standpoint, the Giants have a lot of questions. The Cowboys never get over the hump. I'm not saying the Commanders are going to go anywhere this year, but I'm saying Daniels could get them there. Daniels coming in at number 2. On the clock next, the New England Patriots. And this is where I think it really gets interesting again. What do the Patriots do? We did a whole video over this back on Monday. 2 days ago, we broke down the Patriots because they really intrigued me. This is a team that needs a quarterback. They traded Mac Jones to Jacksonville. Never really got a fair shot in New England. I never felt like he did. But they got rid of him. Bill Belichick is now gone. The Patriots guys have the number 3 overall pick. That's extremely high for them. They haven't been that high since the 90s, right? I mean, this is a team that's dealing with their first new head coach since 2000. They're dealing with life post-dynasty. No Tom Brady, no Bill Belichick, none of the other players that were such key pieces of that dynasty, of that Patriot way. Matthew Slater's gone. Julian Edelman's gone. Ron Gronkowski's gone. All those key guys are gone. Now, Gerard Mayo was a product of the Patriot way. So a new head coach that understands New England, understands the culture, but is changing things a little bit. That's big for him. Matthew Slater did join his staff. They've got a solid staff all the way around. But what do the Patriots do? Do they draft a potential franchise quarterback here, in which case your best options are either Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, or maybe they go wild and they go Bo Nix, Michael Penix? Or do they trade out of number 3, collect more picks, collect more assets, maybe load up on the wide receiver core, which they could select at number 3 as well. They have a horrible wide receiver core, and then select a quarterback later on. A lot of different directions the Patriots could go. It's either quarterback, wide receiver, or trade out. That's what the Patriots are going to do. We're not exactly sure what it's going to be, but here's what I believe it will be and what I believe it should be. With the number 3 overall pick in the 2024 GE mock draft, the New England Patriots select Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina. I think this is the direction they've got to go. And if Drake May gets selected by the Commanders, I think that the Patriots select Jayden Daniels. I think the Patriots are going quarterback at number 3. And I think that's what they need to do. I get it might not be the best quarterback class out there. I understand that. But if they don't go quarterback and they either settle on Bo Nix, Michael Penix, or don't go quarterback at all, you're basically admitting we are not going to try in 2024. We're going to ride with Jacoby Brissett, who's not going to lead them to anything. May is a guy that I think can be developed. Over 7,900 yards and 62 touchdowns in his 2 seasons as a starter with the Tar Heels. Also had over 1,000 rushing yards and 16 rushing touchdowns. So not nearly as mobile as a guy like Jayden Daniels, but a guy that certainly can escape the pocket, can extend plays, and run when needed, when called upon. That's going to be something that the Patriots are looking for. He's got a really, really strong arm. I think when you're looking for arm strength, it's Caleb Williams, number one. Drake May right behind him. Do not underestimate his ability to chunk it 50, 60 yards. I mean, this guy has a cannon for an arm. He's just got to be a little bit better with his decision-making. He only threw 16 interceptions in 2 years. That's not a bad stat at all, especially that touchdown interception ratio is really, really good. But he's still got to find a way to not play hero ball. He's a guy that escapes the pocket and tries to force it instead of maybe throwing it away, going down, stepping out of bounds, whatever it may be. Those are things that can definitely be taught. Those are not things that cannot be undone. So Drake May, I think, going to be the best bet for the New England Patriots at number 3, which means we have had 3 straight quarterbacks go off the board in this mock draft. On the clock next, we've got the Cardinals. I can tell you the Cardinals aren't going quarterback. They've still got Kyler Murray. And we actually did a whole kind of preview over the Cardinals yesterday. We talked about the teams that were under the most pressure heading into tomorrow night, most pressure entering this next NFL draft. Patriots were one of them. The Cardinals were one of them. So were the Cowboys, and so were the Broncos. The Cardinals were not nearly as bad as their record showed last year. Had like 4 or 5 one-possession losses with a first-year head coach, and when they played the majority of the season without Kyler Murray. This is a much better team, I think, than people realize. So Kyler Murray's still got a lot of talent, but he needs some weapons. Cardinals' biggest needs are probably at wide receiver number 1. They got DeAndre Hopkins is gone. He hasn't really had the best skill set. The defense actually wasn't even that bad either. So with the number 4 pick in the 2024 GE mock draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver out of Ohio State. To me, this is a no-brainer. If you are in a position where no wide receivers have been taken off the board, or if you're in a position where Marvin Harrison Jr. is still on the board, you've got to take him. He is our number 1 wide receiver entering this draft. He's got a great frame, 6'4", 205 pounds, excellent route runner, the best route runner out of the wide receivers that are in the draft this year. He had over 1,200 yards in the last 2 years, each of the last 2 years, over 14 touchdowns each of the last 2 years. He is an immediate wide receiver 1 in Arizona. He gets drafted by the Cardinals. He immediately, to me, becomes Kyler Murray's top target. And he has a strong, strong case. I know it's typically a quarterback award, but a strong case to be Rookie of the Year if Kyler Murray can get him some solid production. This is the guy that, he's just an absolute freak of nature. Obviously, so was his father, NFL Hall of Famer, NFL great. So this is a shoe-in pick for the Cardinals unless they do choose to trade out. I would not recommend that. The Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. is right there. I take him. But maybe they try to collect some assets because the Cardinals do have a pick later on in the first round. So maybe they could collect a few more if a team's willing to trade up for a quarterback. So 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes at number 4. With the 5th pick, we've got, wait a minute. Got a trade. We've got a trade. The Chargers would be picking number 5. But we have the Minnesota Vikings trading up from number 11 to take that number 5 spot. Because, again, we talked about it a second ago. We said the Cardinals are going to trade out. If they do, they're going to be trading with a quarterback-needy team. Maybe they don't trade. Maybe the Cardinals stay put. But some quarterback-needy team's going to have to get in that top 10, especially if they can't get into the top 3. If the Vikings can't get in the top 3, if the Giants can't get in the top 3, they've got to make a move to get their guy. And I think the Vikings do just that. The Vikings give up the number 11 pick, which means the Chargers will now have the number 11 pick and the number 23 pick, and then a couple later round picks as well. But we're not doing a whole 7-round mock draft here. But the Vikings do move up to number 5. And with the 5th overall pick in this 2024 GE mock draft, the Minnesota Vikings select the national champion, J.J. McCarthy. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are going to look at this and they go, man, J.J., really? I'm not sold on him, right? A lot of people are going to say that. And I'm not going to blame you for that. I'm not even going to say you're wrong for that. This is a guy that I wouldn't say was carried, but this was a guy that played on a team that primarily wanted to run the football. They wanted to play smash mouth ball, bully you up front, and relied heavily on their defense. Michigan never had to rely so much on J.J. McCarthy. Michigan never had to rely on him to bail them out of situations and to lead them to win these games. They were always able to kind of control the games, control the time of possession. They didn't need J.J. McCarthy to play hero ball, which was great, but you do worry about that translating to him being a franchise quarterback in the NFL. I think he can do it. Last year was his best season at Michigan, completing over 72% of his passes for over 2,900 yards, 22 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. And listen to this. I know it's not a great stat, but in a way it is. 4 interceptions. 3 of those interceptions came in one game against Bowling Green. Again, not a great stat, but that means in his final 12 games, J.J. McCarthy only threw 1 interception compared to 15 touchdowns. He really turned it around after that game. I think that speaks a lot. He had a short-term memory. He put that behind it. He moved on. 44 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in the last 2 years with Michigan. Won the national championship this last year. I think you pair him with a guy like Justin Jefferson and all of the weapons that the Vikings have, it could be a perfect fit. Give me JJ to Minnesota, which means 4 of the first 5 picks are quarterbacks, but it has to be done. Absolutely has to be done. And a big trade by the Vikings. Up next on the clock, we got the Giants. And that's where the Giants are in trouble. I know Giant fans aren't thrilled with Daniel Jones. They're not going to be thrilled with having him as their QB1. But if the Giants don't get aggressive and make a move up into the top 5, maybe even to the top 3, they're going to miss out on all the elite quarterbacks. So maybe they, are thinking we can go get Bo Nix or Michael Penix later on if they want that. But if they truly believe they're going to stick with Daniel Jones or whoever they have on their roster, they're going to have to get him some weapons. The Giants need a wide receiver. They need a running back. They need some help on defense. But the wide receiver is the most pressing need for the Giants. And so, with the 6th overall pick in the 2024 GE mock draft, the New York Giants select Malik Nabers, the wide receiver out of LSU. How awesome is that going to be? Jaden Daniels at Washington, Malik Nabers in New York, playing in the same division, meeting twice a year. I know they're on opposite sides of the ball. I get that. But it's got to be kind of cool to be in the same division with each other. Malik Nabers, though, kind of soaring up the draft boards. He's a guy that, a lot of people believe is the best wide receiver in this draft over Marvin Harrison Jr. And if you watched our video from last week, I said I couldn't quite get to that point yet. I couldn't quite get to the point putting Malik Nabers above him, but it was close. This guy is the LSU leader in receptions all time, 189 receptions in his career, all-time leader in reception yards, over 3,000. He led the SEC in receptions each of the last 2 years. He's an excellent route runner. He's extremely elusive with 4.35 40. That was his 4.35 40 time. He's fast. He's elusive. Got great hands. Size, definitely lesser than that of Marvin Harrison Jr. Not nearly as good, but he's a dangerous player, guys. And he's going to be a great threat in New York. Once again, for the Giants, you don't get your quarterback, fine. You better go help your quarterback and give him some weapons. And Malik Nabers is about as good as they come. Coming in at number 7, we've got the Titans on the clock. We'll slow it down a little bit. I want to give a shout out to everybody that is here. I'm looking at the chat here. Anthony's here. Appreciate you, my guy. So happy to have you here. We've got the predictions coming your way here in about 2 months. We're really close to prediction season. We're working really hard on them right now. So, Anthony, good to see you. Flo, good to see you. Brady Glassman, nice to have you. My man Clement, good to see you. We've got a great crowd tonight. We appreciate all of you guys that are here, members of our GE Nation, the ones, again, that are watching now, watching later. We're really pumped to have you here. All right, continuing on. Tennessee Titans in at number 7. They made some money moves over the offseason, right? Got a new head coach. Mike Vrabel is out. So they've got a new coach. They've got kind of embracing the Will Levis era. I feel like he obviously kind of came into himself towards the end of last year and feels pretty confident that he can be the guy. They added Tony Pollard at running back. They added some other great offensive weapons that are going to make a difference for Tennessee this year. Maybe a contender in the AFC South, a more competitive AFC South than maybe we once envisioned. The Colts improving. We're a game away from the playoffs last year. The Jaguars were a game away from the playoffs last year. Texans did make the playoffs and look great with C.J. Stroud. So the Titans, they've got to become a contender. We believe they can do that. But you can't be a contender. If you don't have protection. If you don't have guys up front that can protect your quarterback and open up lanes for your running backs. And so, with the 7th overall pick in the 2024 GE mock draft, the Tennessee Titans select Joe Alt, tackle from Notre Dame. He is arguably the best tackle in the draft. I think he is the best tackle in this entire draft. 6'8", 315 pounds, an absolute monster. But you look at it, he doesn't look like him. That's a fit 315, all right? He was an AP first-team All-American. I mean, he was just bullying people left and right during his time at Notre Dame. And get this, I mean, talk about a fit family. Talk about a talented family. His father, John Alt, was a Pro Bowl tackle in the NFL. His brother, Mark, was an NHL player. I mean, athleticism just kind of flows in the Alt family. He's going to thrive very, very well in Tennessee. The Titans desperately need help up front. They desperately need help on the offensive line. If Alt isn't selected in the first 6, it's a no-brainer pick for me down in Tennessee. All right, and number 8, the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. It's also a bit of a new era for Atlanta. New coach, Kirk Cousins, getting that massive contract to leave Minnesota to come there. The offense, to me, isn't going to be bad for Atlanta. The offense looks pretty solid. The Falcons have enough playmakers, enough young playmakers, and a veteran quarterback that I think they're going to be okay on that side of the ball. It's the defense that needs the most help. Listen to this stat. The Falcons, since 2016, have a 23.7% QB pressure rate. That's horrible. It's absolutely terrible. We're coming up on almost 10 years, and the pressure rate is less than 25%. It's really, really bad. They need someone. They need help on that defensive line to come up and pressure the quarterback. They need not a veteran, because obviously they're drafting him. They need someone to become that guy, to be that force up front on defense. And so that's the need that I think they're going to have to address with the 8th pick. And with that 8th pick, we believe the Atlanta Falcons select Dallas Turner, star edge rusher out of Alabama. Again, to me, a no-brainer pick for Atlanta. And look, there's a lot of great edge rushers in this draft, right? I mean, I think Dallas Turner probably is number 1. 32.5 sacks, or 32.5 tackles for a loss during his career at Alabama. 22.5 sacks. Was the 2023 SEC Defensive Player of the Year. First-team AP All-American. 14.5 tackles for a loss. 10 sacks last year alone. He's an absolute wrecking ball. And that's what Atlanta needs. They need that guy to get those pressure rates up. They need a guy to wreak havoc in the backfield. Dallas Turner is that guy. He has great speed. He has great agility. He's proven it time and time again during his career at Alabama. If you don't go Dallas Turner here, if you're Atlanta, that's fine, but you better get an edge rusher. There's plenty of other great ones out there. But again, I think Dallas Turner, he's the number 1 pick in my eyes at this position. Atlanta addresses a big, big need, bulks up the defense, paired with a solid offense, or what we believe should be a solid offense, and once again, a wide open NFC South. There is no team in the NFC South that scares me right now. The Bucs are probably the top dog, but Saints, not that great. Panthers, still rebuilding. And now the Falcons. Wide open division. This could be a position. This could be a pick that kind of turns the tide in favor of Atlanta and makes them more of a contender in this division. All right, the Bears are back on the clock. This is an intriguing pick here, because a lot of times when you see teams with 2 top 10 picks, 2 first-round picks especially, but 2 top 10 picks, you expect them to deal one of them. Get more picks later on, get more assets, and I could see the Bears doing this. Would not be surprised in the slightest to see that the Bears take Caleb Williams at number 1 and then go, you know what, we'll trade out of the 9 spot, trade either down in the first round or just trade out of the first round entirely, bulk up some more picks. The wide receiver class is pretty deep. We can bulk up in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. We'll be okay. I could see them doing that, so I would not be shocked. But I actually think the Bears keep that 9 spot. Still way too much elite talent on the board, especially at skill positions, for the Bears to go, we'll trade out, unless the offer simply really is just too good to refuse, too good to pass up. So the Bears, they've got their quarterback. They made some solid moves in the offseason. What do they do at number 9? Who do they take with that 9th pick? Maybe a shock to some. With the 9th pick in the 2024 GE mock draft, the Chicago Bears select Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia. Love this pick. Love this pick. I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, all right, it's got to be a wide receiver, right? It's got to be someone different. Brock Bowers is essentially a wide receiver. He's classified as a tight end, but he plays the game as a wide receiver. He's absolutely ridiculous. He's led Georgia in receiving yards each of the last 3 years, finished his career with the Bulldogs with over 2,500 yards and 26 touchdowns. Keep in mind, those stats could have been even better had he not missed 4 games last year, but came back, battled through, still put up really, really, really good numbers. He won the Mackey Award in back-to-back seasons, both the 2022 and 2023. To me, it's a no-brainer pick. I could see the Bears going with Rome Odunze here as well. The Bears are going to add, if they stay at number 9, the Bears are going to add, or at least they should add, a threat for Caleb Williams, another threat for Caleb Williams. Maybe it's Brock Bowers. Maybe it's Rome Odunze. I'm going to go with Bowers, though. I think he's more of a Swiss Army knife. He can do just about everything, maybe even more than what Odunze can do. So Bowers comes in at number 9, and you've now got Caleb Williams, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. You've got Brock Bowers, who was the best tight end in the country. You've got Keenan Allen. You've got a Bears team that all of a sudden is starting to look really formidable on the offensive side of the ball. And that's a scary, scary thing. The NFC North is solid. The Bears might start becoming a bit of a contender. Bowers in at number 9. And rounding out the top 10, we've got the New York Jets. What the heck are the Jets going to do? They're an interesting team. They really are. It's one of those. They're a team that right now you look at them and you go, they had all these high expectations last year with Aaron Rodgers coming in, expecting to be Super Bowl contenders. He gets hurt like on the 3rd play from scrimmage. The season is in shambles. They have to rely on Zach Wilson. But now he's gone, right? Zach Wilson's off to Denver. So the Jets don't need a quarterback. They don't really need wide receivers. They could add one if they wanted to. I know a lot of people wanted them to add Brock Bowers, like Rome Odunze. But if I'm the Jets, I'm their front office. I'm like, look, man, we cannot afford for Aaron Rodgers to get hurt again. If Aaron Rodgers gets beat up repeatedly, if he gets hurt again, we are done. And we have to treat one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Well, maybe we should show this guy a little bit of respect. The Jets offensive line, yeah, they made some moves. They've bulked up a little bit up front, but they're older. Guys in their 30s. Guys that are injury prone. They need some depth. They need some help. And so with the 10th overall pick in the 2024 GE mock draft, the New York Jets select Talise Fuaga from Oregon State, the tackle. Excellent, excellent pick if they go this route. They've got to go offensive line here. Joe Alt's already off the board, so number 1's gone. Talise Fuaga is going to be a great pick if he's at the number 10 spot. He's, 6'6", 324 pounds, and ran the 40 in 5.13 seconds. For a guy that's over 300 pounds, that's pretty dang good. Really dang good. He moves. He's very fluid. And he's a guy that needs to stay over at the tackle position, too. There's a lot of rumors circulating that whoever selects Fuaga is going to move him to guard. I disagree with that. Right tackle is his spot. He's an excellent, excellent pass blocker. That's what you need. You need somebody to give Aaron Rodgers time. Give him protection. Look no further than Fuaga at number 10. If the Jets do not go offensive line, I think they're crazy. The only thing that I could see them maybe passing up for would be Brock Bowers. So maybe if the Bears don't take Bowers, or if no one trades up to snatch him, maybe the Jets make a point there and go, let's add another weapon, a guy that can be with us for a very, very long time in the post-Aaron Rodgers era. But I say, look, Aaron Rodgers, no Aaron Rodgers, you ain't going to have a team if you can't protect your quarterback. Games are won, as we know, in the trenches. Starts there with Talise Fuaga. All right, who's up next? The Chargers. Remember, the Chargers had the number 5 pick. They traded, in our mock draft, we had the Chargers trading down with the Vikings. The Vikings typically would be at number 11. We think they're going to trade up into the top 5, select their quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. So the Chargers trade down. What do? Jim Harbaugh, in his first year with the Chargers, has a major, major decision on his hand. And for some reason, the betting odds of the Chargers selecting a quarterback in the first round are increasing. And I think that's mind-blowing to me because they've got a great quarterback in Justin Herbert. There is no need for the Chargers to get another quarterback unless it's way, way, way down the road. There's no need to waste a first-round pick on a quarterback when you've got a guy in Justin Herbert. If I'm the Chargers, I'm looking at it saying, I don't have Austin Eckler anymore. I don't have Keenan Allen anymore. I've got a quarterback who's been playing really, really good ball the last few years. He's just had god-awful coaching. If we can get this guy some more weapons, put him with a competent coach, we might be able to make the playoffs. We might be able to compete in the playoffs. At least we might be able to compete in a division that contains the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chargers have got to find a way to get the offense rolling a little bit more than it already has been. And so with the number 11 pick in this 2024 GE mock draft, the LA Chargers select Rome Odunze out of Washington. This is a big, big pick. This is what I would do if I were LA, if I were Jim Harbaugh. Again, you've got a veteran quarterback, but you lost a lot of skill position players. You need someone to replenish them. Look no further than one of the best wide receivers in the nation the last few years. Last year, Rome Odunze led the Pac-12 in reception yards. He also did it the year before that, back-to-back years. Over 1,600 yards last year. And he's a guy that I think we know how strong Justin Herbert's arm is. We've seen how great this guy is. Rome Odunze can be that deep ball threat. He's a guy that has remarkable body control. He can win those 50-50 balls. He's not as elusive in open space, I'll tell you that. He, for me, is not a guy that's going to, take a quick slant and turn it into a 70-yard touchdown. But he's a guy that you lob it up there, he's going to come down with it. The ball's off just a little bit, he's going to readjust and make sure he gets it. Rome Odunze, we had him ranked number 3 out of the wide receiver class this year. In most normal classes, he would be number 1 or number 2. I mean, that just shows how good this class is. So getting him at number 11 to me would be an absolute steal and would give Justin Herbert an immediate wide receiver 1 and an immediate weapon in LA in this new era for Chargers football. So give me Rome Odunze to the Chargers, who, despite trading down, I say still win in this trade. On the clock, let's talk about this for a second. The Denver Broncos, man. The Denver Broncos. This is a weird situation. And this is one of those teams that in our video yesterday we said they have a lot riding on this draft. The Sean Payton Russell Wilson marriage didn't pan out. The Sean Payton Russell Wilson marriage was a nasty one that ended in a nasty divorce. And now the heat is on for Sean Payton, because if he does not deliver in 2024, he could be gone, or at least really be on the hot seat in 2025. They just added Zach Wilson. I really contemplated giving the Broncos like Bo Nix, Michael Penix. Maybe they select a quarterback here, but I don't think they would have made that move for Zach Wilson if they had intentions of picking a quarterback at number 12. So the Broncos can go any direction here. Probably not quarterback. They could go defense. They could go skill position and add a wide receiver. We don't know what they're going to do. So kind of a shot in the dark here. This is another team kind of like the Patriots. I'm really excited to see what they do tomorrow night. But I'm going to give it a shot with the Broncos, number 12 pick in this 2024 NFL Draft, GE NFL Mock Draft. The Denver Broncos select Laiatu Latu, the edge rusher out of UCLA. I think Denver tries to get back to their roots. What was the reason that Denver thrived years ago, back in the slight Peyton Manning era? I mean, the offense was great, but down the road, what was it? It was paired with a great defense. It was paired with one of the best defenses we've ever seen, I'd say. That Super Bowl 50 squad led by Von Miller was unbelievable. This helps them get back to that. Look, this is a team that in a division with Patrick Mahomes, in a division with Justin Herbert, has got to find a way to play some pretty good defense. Latu can help them do that right out the gate. He was named the top defensive lineman and the top defensive end in the country in 2023. First team AP All-American, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, led the FBS with 21.5 tackles for a loss and 13 sacks just last season. He did suffer a pretty concerning neck injury during his time at Washington before he transferred to UCLA. Obviously something that I think teams are going to want to watch out for as they go through this draft process. But Latu is a first-round draft selection. I think he's a top 15 selection, and I think he can become that anchor for the Denver defense, very similar to what Von Miller was many years ago. So give me Latu at number 12. I think it's a steal at the pick. Broncos, though, still need to figure out what the heck they're going to do on offense, because Zach Wilson's not the answer. Jarrett Stidham's not the answer. Ben DiNucci, not the answer either. All right, number 13. How about the Raiders? The Las Vegas Raiders. I'm excited for this team, man. New era for them as well. New coach, although getting the interim tag removed. I'm excited to see what they do. I really am. What direction do they go here? Because I don't think Aiden O'Connell's the answer for the Raiders either. He's not a guy that's going to lead the Raiders to the playoffs. He's not a guy that's going to lead them to the promised land. Not in this division. Not in this division with the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Broncos. So maybe they go quarterback here. Bo Nix, Michael Penix, maybe. But I think 13th is a little high for those two quarterbacks. I think you can wait to the second round to get one of those guys. No, I think what the Raiders need to do is they've got to focus on the biggest need, and that's defense. That's cornerback. That's cornerback. That's a secondary. When you're facing some of the best quarterbacks in the league, you might as well have a good secondary to go along with it. So, with the number 13 overall pick in this GE mock draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback out of Toledo, who I think is the best cornerback in this NFL draft. And here's the thing. We would not be talking about this guy right now if he had not performed so well at the Senior Bowl. He might have been a late first-round selection, might have been a early day 2 selection. But are we talking about Quinyon Mitchell being the number 1 cornerback in the draft, selected in the top 15 without the Senior Bowl? No, because here's the thing. You look at a guy like him. He's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. Got great speed, set the Toledo school record with 46 pass breakups, including 18 last year. Has a 4.33 40-yard dash time, 6 foot, 195 pounds, an absolute true ball hawk. But he played at Toledo. So you look at that and you go, look, man, those stats are great. What you did at Toledo is great. But you were playing against mediocre MAC receivers. How do you fare against a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr.? How do you fare against a guy like Rome Odunze? And he went to the Senior Bowl and said, I fare well. I can play with the top dogs. Just because don't judge me on my school, judge me on my skill. And he proved himself at the Senior Bowl. The Raiders are getting an absolute dog at number 13. He is going to be that type of defensive spark that they need in this new era of football and one of the most toughest divisions in the NFL. Quinyon Mitchell to Las Vegas. Perfect fit. All right, how about the Saints? How about the Saints? We talked about it. It's a wide open NFC South. Not that this draft necessarily is going to determine whether or not the Saints become a contender or not, but can they get there? I mean, when we mean wide open, we mean anybody can make the playoffs. You win that division, you're in. And you know, some people don't like that rule. Some people do. I don't know. But you win the division and you're in. Saints could do it. But for them to do it, they've got to find themselves some protection at quarterback because it wasn't all that great last year. It really, really wasn't. It was pretty dang bad. The Saints defense needs a little bit of work as well. I think they'll address that in the later rounds. But for now, they need pass protection. So with the 14th overall pick in this 2024 GE mock draft, the New Orleans Saints select Olu Fashanu from Penn State. This guy, you know what? For me, it's like a really high potential pick. It's a really high potential pick because Olu only had 2 years as a starter in Happy Valley. So he's not a guy that's been, seasons from a freshman all the way to now, right? Like 2 years as a starter, that's it. And then bulked his way back up. But every single year, he continued to improve. Just boom, boom, boom. First team AP All-American just last year. Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year last season. 6'6", 312 pounds. And that's the thing. It's one of those things where it's like, look, you might not be fully seasoned right now in college, like fully seasoned, but like we get you into our franchise. We develop you. Just watch out. And we saw that last year. Year one, not that great. Year two, saw all the accolades that he racked up. How solid the Penn State offensive line was. Quarterback play wasn't great, but the O-line was pretty dang solid. Olu Fashanu is going to be a great, great steal for the Saints. And I would not be surprised to see the Jets pick him up at number 10. Maybe the Titans pick him up early at number 7. Like, don't be surprised to see him be the first tackle taken off the board. I still think Joe Alt's going to be that guy, but he sure is in the top 3 in that position, coming in at number 14. And real quick, I just saw it come through. I want to give a shout out to my guy, Mitch, real quick. Clones and Cats in Dublin, Ireland. Appreciate that super chat, my guy. We'll take a little break from the mock draft. Don't worry, we're going to get to all of your comments and all of your questions in the chat when we wrap up the mock draft. So we're going to speed through it here a little bit, but we really, really appreciate all of your support. Happy to have you. Happy to see Mitch. Happy to see Anthony a second ago, Brady, Robert, all of you guys, and Mitch. That super chat goes a long way. Every single bit of it going back into the channel, and who knows, maybe towards the Gridiron Expert Honeymoon Fund as well. We need some help there. All right, the 15th pick, we've got the Indianapolis Colts really, really excited about what the Colts are building, man. Credit to the coaching staff, too. This was a team that, was looking good with Anthony Richardson, gets hurt, and still was one win away against the Texans at home from making the playoffs. I mean, when your star player gets down, and especially at quarterback, and everything's supposed to fall apart, and it didn't for Indianapolis. So the future's looking really, really bright there. But one area of concern for the Colts is their defense, especially in their secondary. It was pretty bad last year. Had a lot of issues. It got torched a couple times by C.J. Stroud, who was kind of taking the league by storm. We know Will Levis is a rising star. Trevor Lawrence has some solid performances in his career with the Jaguars, though last year not so much. But the Colts need help in that secondary. And so they're going to have to address the cornerback position, which is why at number 15, we're giving the Indianapolis Colts Terrion Arnold, the cornerback out of Alabama. Cornerback is the biggest need for the Colts right now. And this is the guy, once again, first-team AP All-American, had 5 interceptions and 12 passes broken up in 2023. He's extremely aggressive. His closing time on those receivers is remarkable. Go back and watch the film. Watch him throughout the course of his Alabama career, but especially last year. The speed is there. His aggression is there. I mean, he is a great, great player. Again, not my number one cornerback. Wouldn't be surprised he'd be the first one taken off the board, but not who I would pick number one, but definitely top 15, top 20. Terrion Arnold has all the intangibles you want. And for the Colts, you're getting the dog if you get him. You pair that with Anthony Richardson on offense, and the Colts could win a wide open NFC South, or AFC South, a very competitive AFC South, I should say. But they got to fix that secondary. It starts with the star rookie out of Alabama. All right, coming in at number 16. Our last pick that we do kind of like this, and then we're going to kind of go through the final 16 relatively quickly so we can get to your questions, we can get to your comments. But for the 16th pick, we've got the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seahawks are entering a new era of their own, right? Pete Carroll gone, kind of parting ways, mutually, not mutually, however you want to phrase it, with Seattle after a remarkable run there. 2 Super Bowl appearances, should have won 2 Super Bowls. At least they did get one over the Broncos. But you look at them. I mean, Geno Smith is still playing relatively quality football right now, but he's getting on up there in age. This is not a draft where I expect the Seahawks to address the quarterback position. I think they ride with Geno Smith until the wheels fall off. Maybe that's this year, maybe that's next year. He's still got enough left in the tank, though, to lead this offense. And the Seahawks really aren't in a bad spot as a team. There really, to me, aren't really glaring holes on this team. I would expect them to try to focus on the defense a little bit, and I would definitely expect them to focus on the offensive line. So I think either way, you're going to go offensive line or you're going front 7 defensively if you're the Seahawks at pick number 16. But for us, with the 16th overall pick in this 2024 GE mock draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Troy Fautanu, the tackle out of Washington. So you notice we got a lot of tackles between the 7th and 16th picks. So within a 10-pick range, we've got like 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 tackles going in that range. It's quite a bit. Kind of shows you how strong and how deep this offensive line class is. But this pick's really intriguing to me too, because Troy Fautanu is going to reunite with his offensive coordinator out of Washington. So not only is he staying in state, played his career at Washington, went to the national championship last year with Washington, stays in Washington with Seattle, he's going to reunite with his former offensive coordinator and Ryan Grubb, who, Kalen DeBoer goes to Alabama. He doesn't follow. He doesn't get the head coaching position with the Huskies. So then he becomes the offensive coordinator with the Seahawks. So kind of an interesting reunion there. Kind of cool seeing him stay in state. But this guy is a beast, right? Started all 15 games last year at left tackle. Has excellent footwork. And kind of like we talked about with Olu with the Saints, he's a guy that's going to continue to develop. And the beauty of this is that he's going to continue to develop with someone that he knows. He's going to continue to develop with an offensive coordinator who I know his main focus is not the offensive line, but he's going to be on the team with a guy on the staff that knows him well, knows his game, knows how to develop him. That's going to go a long way, and I think could lead to an even better career for Troy, more so than some of the other tackles that don't have the benefit of all that continuity. So a big get for Seattle. Bulks up that offensive line, gives their quarterback some protection, and Fautanu gets to stay at home. All right, so the way we're going to do it from here on out is we're going to essentially have like 4 picks on the screen at a time, and we'll give you quick hitters on the rest of them. some quick hitters on the rest of these picks in this 2024 mock draft. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with 17, 18, 19, and 20. Start with the Jags. Cooper DeJean from Iowa. I like this pick a lot. And here's the thing. I don't think people realize the Swiss Army knife you're getting with Cooper DeJean. I don't think people understand that. Not only is he a good cornerback out of Iowa, his ability to alter games on special teams is severely underrated. The special teams play is severely underrated. He, the punt returning ability is great. The gunner ability is great. He was named the Big Ten Specialist of the Year in 2023. He had 3 pick sixes in 2022. We know he did break his fibula at the end of this last season. I think he's going to be fine now. And even if you get him in there with Jacksonville or whoever takes him, we think he goes Jags, and he doesn't pan out at cornerback, you hold on to him and maintain him as a specialist with punt returns, with punt blocks. You keep him with that. He reminds me a little bit of like a Matthew Slater type guy, a guy who maybe isn't going to play as big of a role at a skill position, a guy who maybe doesn't play as big of a role defensively, but is a leader in the locker room and can alter a game with his special teams play. Matthew Slater would be the best comparison I have for this guy, but he has an opportunity to also make a difference at cornerback. 18, we've got J.C. Latham out of Alabama back again at tackle. So we get 2 more tackles just in this 4-pick stretch. Cincinnati has got to continue to protect Joe Burrow. Like, I don't know how many times that you've got to look at the Bengals and say, good God, just get him some help. Like, how many times you can look at the Bengals like, please stop letting Joe Burrow get hit. Bulk up the offensive line. You've got the weapons. I know T. Higgins wants out. Maybe he gets traded tomorrow night. We're not sure. But they've still got Jamar Chase. They've still got enough talent offensively that they don't have to address skill position right now. And if they want to do that, they can do that in round 2 and round 3. The biggest thing is bulking up the line to protect your franchise quarterback. And you can do that with J.C. Latham, who's 6'6", 342 pounds, played 27 games at right tackle over the last 2 years. An excellent, excellent run blocker, and just a guy who's so big that he'll just bulldoze and pancake just about everybody in front of him. That's the way that that's the way that the Bengals have to go by taking another elite tackle off the board. And at 19, we've got Byron Murphy II, the defensive tackle out of Texas. Look, if you're the Rams, you look at this and you go, we don't have Aaron Donald anymore. Who's going to anchor our defense? Who's going to become that game changer up front on the defensive line? I think Byron Murphy's your guy. If the Rams choose not to go with Dallas Turner, if he has yet to be selected, or Jared Verse, if they choose not to go with a true edge rusher, you go with Byron Murphy II here, who was 6 foot, 297 pound freak of nature, Big 12 defensive lineman of the year, 29 tackles, 8.5 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks last season alone with the Longhorns. This is a dangerous, dangerous player. And again, I think a great replacement for Aaron Donald. Will it take time to get to that status? Absolutely. Can't expect a guy to come in here and change the game like that, but he has had that ability. And again, you look at the glaring needs for these teams. Defensive line's one of them for LA. Go with one of the best guys on the board. Number 20, Amarius Mims, the tackle from Georgia, goes to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, once again, their offensive line pretty bad last year. Wasn't all that great, and they need more protection for their future quarterback, whether that's Russell Wilson, whether that's going to be Justin Fields, whether it's someone way on down the road. You've got to protect your guy. You've got to protect him, and Mims can do that. 6'8", 340 pounds. And for a guy that big, that tall, that heavy, he ran the 40 in 5 seconds. 5.08 was his 40-yard dash time. It's pretty dang impressive. Pretty dang impressive for a guy that big to move that well. If you go back and watch his film, he actually rarely got beat during his time with the Bulldogs. He only played in 7 games last year due to an injury, but still, he rarely got beat. In the rare moments that he did, his recovery time and his ability to recover was pretty remarkable. So Mims is a guy that I actually could see getting selected in that top 16. Really, I don't think you can go wrong with many of the tackles that we've listed here. But I think he falls. He still stays in the top 20, and the Steelers get themselves a monster up front to protect their quarterbacks. All right, on to the next section. Dolphins in at 21. Jerzon Newton, the defensive lineman out of Illinois. If you go back and look at the Dolphins and what they lost up front, they lost a lot of talent once again on that defensive line, kind of like the Rams. They've got to find someone to replace him. No one better than Jerzon Newton. First team AP All-American, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, 7.5 sacks last year. And talk about special teams like Cooper DeJean, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year with 4 blocked kicks. That led the FBS. Led the FBS with 4 blocked kicks last year. So not only is he going to be a force up front, you stick him out there on field goal block. Stick him out there. He's got a big frame. Get that hand up. Block a few kicks. Plays a big, big role on special teams. So I think that would be a steal for the Dolphins. He ended his career with 18 sacks and 27 tackles for a loss. I mean, again, guys, the talent is there. The game-changing ability is there. And the Dolphins really are kind of thin in their front seven. I think it's a no-brainer. If they don't go Newton, that's fine, but it's a no-brainer that they go on the defensive line. It's a no-brainer that they go a defensive lineman in their first-round pick. Number 22, we've got the Eagles selecting Kool-Aid McKinstry. I can't tell you why. He just feels like a great fit with this Eagles defense. He's a pure cover man. He has a very, very high football IQ, 32 tackles, 7 pass breakups in 2023 alone. Once again, he can kind of just do it all. He can kind of do it all. And the Eagles secondary was pretty bad last year. It's kind of funny how many teams we've talked about that have not had that great of secondaries. The Colts didn't. The Raiders didn't. The Eagles didn't. A lot of help needed there, and the Eagles addressed it. The Eagles were so good last year and then just collapsed towards the end of the season. Part of that sure was attributed to internal things. Part of that sure was contributed to the offense, but more than anything was attributing to the defense. McKinstry becomes a guy that can make an immediate impact. Same can be said for Jared Verse for the Chargers. I think Jared Verse honestly could go higher than 23. He's one of the best edge rushers in this draft. You know, we have Dallas Turner going ahead of him. We have Jazon Newton, Byron Murphy going. They're not pure edge rushers, but they're still on the defensive line. I would not be shocked to see Jared Verse go in the top 15. But if I'm Jim Harbaugh, you know, and I do end up trading out of that 5 spot, and I still get an elite skill position player, whether that's Rome Odunze, Brock Bowers, I got my offensive guy. Why don't we bulk up on the defense too? So I think the Chargers get the best of both worlds here. I think whether they pick at number 5 or whether they pick at 11, whatever it may be, the Chargers bulk up on offense and then bulk up on defense with a guy that at Florida State was a back-to-back first-team All-ACC selection. A guy that at Florida State had 18 sacks in 2 years with the program, 29 tackles for a loss. If you factor in his time at Albany, played at Albany before transferring to Florida State, he ends his collegiate career with 31.5 sacks and 50.5 tackles for a loss. If Jared Verse falls to 23, whether it's the Chargers there or anybody else, they're idiots for not selecting him, because Jared Verse is going to be a steal for whoever does select him, especially if he falls outside the top 20. Absolutely. Big, big pickup for the Chargers. They address an offensive need. They address a defensive need. And Jim Harbaugh sitting there going, man, this NFL thing, yeah, I've already done it once, but man, this is easy. This is easy, considering how well it's going for him. The Cowboys, 24. The Cowboys have done absolutely nothing in the offseason. For a team that claims to be all in on 2024, a team that claims themselves to be Super Bowl title contenders, they have not made the appropriate moves to show that they're serious about football. They have not renewed any of their big-time player contracts. They have not made any major moves in free agency. They proceeded to lose Dan Quinn to a division rival. They have not made the moves necessary. One of the bigger moves that has been made for the Cowboys, not in a good way, is losing some big guys up front on the offensive line, none other than Tyler Biadasz. They need a replacement for him. And that's where I think Jackson Powers Johnson comes in, the star center out of Oregon, who was the Remington Trophy winner last year, goes to the nation's top center. First team AP All-American. You've got a big-time replacement on the offensive line the Cowboys love to pride themselves on. The Cowboys sit there and say, we've got a good offensive line. Look how good we are. Well, look, the offensive line's not going to do you any good when Dak Prescott's throwing interception after interception, and the running back core consists of what? Rico Dowdle, Royce Freeman, and Deuce Vaughn. Like, they've got to have help up front. The running backs aren't going to do their job, so you better give Dak Prescott time to throw. Doesn't mean he'll make more decisions, better decisions, but at least he's got time there. Jackson Powers Johnson or some other offensive lineman, although I think that's the best bet, is what you need to replace Biadasz and to bulk back up front for the Cowboys to maybe continue to have that small Super Bowl window. They're going to have to make some major moves. They're one of the teams that we mentioned yesterday, a team that's under the most pressure heading into tomorrow night. The pressure will be on. The heat will be on for Dallas. Next 4. Only 2 more slides here, guys, and then we'll start jumping into the chat. But the Packers, we think they go Graham Barton at tackle. So another tackle selected. It's funny because the Packers traditionally don't select offensive players in the first round. Traditionally don't take many offensive players, period. They're a team that really wants to focus on the defense. I think they've got to give their franchise quarterback in Jordan Love some extra protection. I think they've got to give him some extra help. And when you look at a guy like David Bakhtiari that's now gone, that's a key piece. Yeah, he was older. Yeah, he was battling injuries, but there's a gap there that needs filled. Graham Barton can be that guy that immediately fills it. 6'5", 313 pounds, first team All ACC back-to-back years at Duke. Excellent technique. He's an immediate plug-and-play guy. You get him in there, I think he immediately starts for the Packers, and I think he makes an immediate impact for the Packers. Everything about him screams high football IQ, screams coachable, screams talented. And if I am the Packers, I am wanting him desperately to continue to give my guy in Jordan Love some extra help. Because last year, the Packers weren't supposed to go as far as they did. They kind of gave us a glimpse into the future to show how good the Packers can be, give them a little bit more protection, address the defensive needs in the later rounds, and Green Bay will be a force to be reckoned with in the NFC. 26, give me the Bucs. Give me Nate Wiggins. I love this guy. I love this cornerback. I mean, I know he's not nearly as good as, Kool-Aid McKinstry, not as good as Terrion Arnold, not as good as Quinyon Mitchell, but he is a first-round selection. And kind of like Jared Verse, I think him falling to 26 is a steal for Tampa Bay. He's got insane speed, 4.28. That was his 40 time, 4.28 40. He was a 2023 first-team All-ACC selection, led the team at Clemson with 9 pass breakups and 2 interceptions, had 12 pass breakups in 2022. He's a guy that, he just follows you like white on rice, man. I'm telling you. He traces those routes so easily. It's like tracing your hand on paper. It really was really fun to sit down and kind of dissect his film. And I apologize that we can't have the film on here. I wish we could show you the highlights. I wish we could break down the film, but YouTube, community strikes, guidelines. The last time we did that, the whole video got removed. It was great. Thank them for that. But his closing and recovery time is remarkable. You pair him with a defensive-minded head coach in Todd Bowles and a Tampa Bay team that made the divisional round last year, was 6 points away from making the NFC Championship. A Tampa Bay team that, despite losing Tom Brady, played really, really good ball, better ball than we thought. Baker Mayfield's sticking around. Mike Evans is sticking around. This is a team that's going to be dangerous in the South, is a team that we expect to be the favorites in the NFC South until proven otherwise, and they're adding an elite corner to help bolster that defense. I think the same thing can be said for the Cardinals as well. 27. We talked about the Chargers kind of getting best of both worlds. Chargers go offensive player early, defensive player late. Cardinals do the same thing. Offensive player early with Marvin Harrison Jr., defensive player late, and Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia. Jonathan Gannon's defense, a defensive-minded coach, gets even stronger, gets the best of both worlds. This is the guy in Lassiter that led Georgia in pass breakups last year, led them with 8 pass breakups. He's extremely physical, and the beauty of him is he can play just about anywhere. Cornerback, is his position, but there's obviously some areas where he can drastically improve, and that's where I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cardinals and Gannon being that guy going, you know what? We're going to move you to nickel, or we're going to move you to safety even. He's a guy that I think can play just about any position in the secondary for Arizona, and that's what's going to make him such a useful pick. So give me Kamari Lassiter there. A name that really isn't being floated around that much, but a guy that could make an immediate impact. Coming at number 28, Brian Thomas Jr. Kind of like some other teams that we've talked about, there are certain teams that, if you don't pick a certain position, you're idiotic. And I think that's the case with the Buffalo Bills. When you lose Stephon Diggs and practically your entire wide receiver core, I mean, really, in essence, guys, Buffalo blew it up. They had a Super Bowl window. They were unable to get over the Chiefs, and they blew it up. They're like, you know what? We're going to keep Josh Allen. He's the centerpiece, but wide receiver-wise, running back-wise, defensive-wise, we're just blowing it all up. We're entering a minor rebuild. They don't have many wide receivers right now that really scare you too much. Brian Thomas scares me. Brian Thomas is a guy that I think could immediately become the wide receiver 1 in Buffalo and play some really, really, really good ball. He led the nation last year, 17 reception touchdowns, led them in touchdowns, over 1,100 reception yards. He's a guy that kind of got overshadowed by his teammate in Malik Neighbors, and yet still put up ridiculous number. 6'4", insane speed. Number one target for Josh Allen. And you know what's even cooler for this to me is he didn't even start playing. He didn't even start playing football until his sophomore year in high school. So in the span of like 6 years, he went from beginning his football career to me being a number one, to being a first-round NFL draft pick. Like, talk about a wild, 180. Talk about a wild run for Brian Thomas Jr. So give me him, 28. Final 4 picks, guys. Then we'll wrap up, and then we will head over to the chat. Kind of address your questions and comments as we wrap up this first-round mock draft. Had a blast. Hope you guys have them too. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe. Check it all out, whether you're watching now, whether you're watching later. We want you to be a member of our GE Nation. So, again, all that stuff is there for you guys. Check it all out. And go. Join us, man. Join us. All right. 29. Lions. Chop Robinson. Remember the name. This is an edge rusher, guys, that, we've had Leatu Latu gets taken. Dallas Turner gets taken. Jared Verse gets taken. A handful of edge rushers already been taken, right? And you kind of look at those guys and you go, where's Chop Robinson, or who the heck is Chop Robinson? Those guys all get taken. He's a guy that I think could get taken in the top 20. The edge rushing position, just at the tackle position, just at the quarter. This is a deep, deep draft. If you can't tell, just based on my excitement, based on keeping up with all these players, this is a deep, talented draft. But Chop Robinson, opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, or just paired with Aiden Hutchinson, makes that Detroit defense a Detroit team that should have been in the Super Bowl last year had it not been for a couple of questionable coaching decisions, even scarier. 6'3", 254 pounds, runs a 4.48 40-yard dash time. People are comparing Chop Robinson already to Micah Parsons, to Myles Garrett, just based on his speed and agility alone. He is dangerous out there on the edge. Last year at Penn State, half of his tackles were for a loss. He had 7.5 tackles for a loss. He had 4 sacks with the Nittany Lions. He just gets better and better each year. And that to be that big, to have that size, to have that speed is what makes him such a dangerous threat. And Dan Campbell, was just licking his chops to go, man, our offense is pretty good. We've got a bolstered offensive line. They extended Sewell. They extended Amon-Ra St. Brown. And now we got Jared Goff back, Aiden Hutchinson back, now Chop Robinson. And Jameer, the Lions, are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And I never thought I'd say that in my lifetime. And that will increase even more if they add Chop Robinson. And we believe they will at 29. And at 30, Tyler Guyton, the tackle out of Oklahoma. How about we open up some more run lanes for Derrick Henry and give Lamar Jackson some more running lanes and protection as well? Maybe best of both worlds once again. Wouldn't be surprised to see those guys flip-flop there. Wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Morgan go 30th and Tyler Guyton go 31st. I think the Ravens and the Niners both have to take tackles, and they both have to bolster up their offensive line. The only concern I have with Tyler Guyton right now is over his 4-year college career, he only played in 29 games. He obviously battled some injuries throughout his career. That's the one thing that I'm cautious of if I'm the Ravens or anybody selecting Guyton. But when you have watched him and when he has played, he has thrived. He's a great pass protector. He's improving on the run in terms of run blocking. So this is a guy that I think has a lot of potential, kind of like Olu. Hasn't played too much football, but a lot of potential. And the Ravens take a chance on him and bolster up what's going to be a very, very, very dangerous and good offense. The 49ers do the same thing. Their offense pretty solid. Probably should have won the Super Bowl last year before everything's kind of fell apart. They bolster up with some pass protection, add in Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. Give this guy some credit. If I'm an NFL scout looking at this guy, I go, not only is he a good player, right? Started all 12 games last year at left tackle, or first team all Pac-12 honors, but he had a torn ACL in 2022. Torn ACL in 2022, bounced back, and then racked that up. Bounced back and started all 12 games. Became first team all Pac-12. That speaks levels to me. Mentally tough, physically tough, and the ability to go, hey, look, even though he got hurt, it didn't faze him. Same with like Michael Penix. He's been hurt time and time again. It didn't faze him after that career season at Washington. This is a guy that he needs to work on his fundamentals a little bit. He really does. But a lot of untapped potential there that the 49ers think can get out of it. And then finally, wrapping things up with this mock draft, the Kansas City Chiefs, your back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They take another wide receiver. Why wouldn't they, right? It feels like every year when the Chiefs select this late in the first round, it's like, what the heck? Let's just add an extra weapon. Maybe they pan out, maybe they don't, but let's give Patrick Mahomes one more weapon at his disposal. But now they've got to do it even more so, right? Last year their wide receiver core wasn't all that great. It really wasn't. And now you factor in this whole Rashee Rice situation with the speeding and the wreck and all that stuff. It's a terrible situation. They are kind of thin in the wide receiver core. So they go out and they add Adonai Mitchell. 4.34 40-yard dash time. Very dangerous deep threat for Kansas City. He led Texas last year with 11 reception touchdowns along with 845 reception yards. 6'2", 205 pounds. Great size, great threat for Mahomes. He's not a guy that, kind of like some of the other receivers we've talked about, is going to take a quick slant and take it to the house. He's a guy that's going to be more so deep post routes, deep go routes. He's going to be more of a deeper ball threat for Patrick Mahomes. Adonai Mitchell, maybe Xavier Worthy goes here. I like Mitchell a little bit better. Worthy's good. Worthy's fast. Worthy could be that new Tyreek Hill for Kansas City. So maybe they opt to go with him. And he is a guy that's so elusive and so fast and can take that 70-yard slant to the house like Tyreek Hill could. But my gut says if they had to choose, they're going to go Adonai Mitchell, more of a, I think, complete wide receiver all the way around. The Chiefs add another key threat and remain kings of the NFL, remain kings of the league until proven otherwise. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about Kansas City. Last year was supposed to be a year where they weren't supposed to. I mean, they were going to contend, but they weren't supposed to win the Super Bowl. They weren't supposed to maybe even make the Super Bowl. The core was thin. The defense had some question marks, all these different things, and they still defied the odds. Now they're bulking back up in the draft. They're bulking back up in free agency. Sky's the limit once again. All right, let's dive into it. We'll dive into the chat a little bit, answer some of your questions, answer some of your comments. Hope you guys appreciate that first-round draft, guys. We are pumped for tomorrow night. I will once again stress that I think this NFL draft has an opportunity to be one of the wildest and most unpredictable drafts we've seen in a very, very long time. There's simply just so many unknowns. Once again, I will tell you this. I think you're going to see a lot of trades in the first round. I know we only had one, and I feel very confident in that one. I feel very confident that the Vikings are going to make that decision to trade into the top 5, top 6 to get themselves a quarterback. But not only do I think you're going to see trades among picks, I think you're going to see some blockbuster trades among players. T. Higgins reported that he wants out. Will Cincinnati make a trade with the team, give them T. Higgins for something else? The Chargers are acting like they're going to get a quarterback. Could they dare trade away Justin Herbert to somebody? Surely to God not. Highly doubt it. But I'm just saying that I think you're going to see more trades involving current players that are already on teams than you're going to see just with draft picks. And that's going to make it even better for us, the fans watching at home. So, having said all of that, once again, I want a big thanks to my guy, Mitch here. Again, we're going to have another college football dedicated stream soon. Probably not next week, but probably in the next month or so. We'll come on here, have a live stream just to chat, take your calls, which we're not doing tonight, and get you ready for prediction season, which is going to be here within a few months. Really, really, really excited for that one. And I think you guys are too, I would hope. Well, we got a lot coming your way over the next couple months. And the season's going to be here before we know it. But having said all of that, Mitch, appreciate you. Cats and Clones in Dublin. What a way to open up conference game. Iowa State and Kansas State in Ireland. It's going to be a fun way to start. And this year we're getting Florida State and Georgia Tech to start the year in Ireland, which is going to be a lot of fun too. But Mitch, I want to thank you for that super chat, man. It goes a really, really long way. Every single bit of it counts. And your support, man, over the years has been awesome. So let's go through. I'm reading up the comments here. I need to see what people have asked or what y'all are saying. Are you roasting my mock draft? Or what are we doing here? Anthony, good to see you. The GE Nation, baby. I'm telling you, every single one of you guys are part of it. We keep growing it day by day. We're really, really excited about it. Really excited about it. Let's see here. George Stice, good to see you, George. It's been a hot minute. Super excited to see you. Yeah, long time no see, for sure. Happy to have you here, man. Super pumped. Hope you've been doing well. And he said, I love to see that you have my Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr. A lot of mocks have us trading down, which is the wrong move. George, I'll tell you, it's a hit or miss, man. It's a crapshoot with the Cardinals. And your mind might change with this, George. It's one of those things where you trade down, you miss out on Marvin Harrison Jr., but you probably end up getting like 3 first-round draft picks. If you trade out of that number 4 spot, you probably end up getting 3 first-round draft picks, which would be awesome. So it's like, what do you do if you're Arizona? Do you take that elite wide receiver, or do you get like say the Vikings offered you the number 11 pick? We're gonna trade in. Here's pick on number 11. So you've got 3 first-round draft picks, and then 11, you can probably still get Rome Odunze, probably get Malik Neighbors, maybe Brian Thomas Jr. Like there's options there. So I don't know. It's a tough one there, but I still think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is the way they need to go. It's just my take. George, super pumped to see you, man. Happy to have you here. Eddie, we'll talk college football for a second, then we'll kind of come back and hit some of y'all's comments on the picks that we selected. We've also got the NBA playoffs going on over here on the side. Anybody got a team that you're rooting for in those? Anybody got a team that they're Celtics and Heat right now? The Celtics are starting to pour it on. Heat were up by like 5, and now it's like a 9-0 run. I think the Celtics and the Nuggets are on a collision course for the finals, if you ask me personally. I think it's like I think it's a foregone conclusion. I think Celtics are going to get past the Heat. Nuggets seem to be the best team in the West. The Thunder are too young. There's just too many questions, but who knows? It's my take. Can you tell me what I know about Corey Batoon? I think Missouri can start 8-0. Don't want to overlook A&M and Auburn and then Bama. What do I think? Missouri's an interesting team, Eddie. They are. I'm not going to go out and tell you right now that they were a one-hit wonder because I don't think they were. so rest assured. But it's one of those things. The schedule is pretty favorable for. It's pretty favorable for Missouri. And I don't have the schedule in front of me. I know they're playing all of those guys, all those teams. I can't remember who's at home and who's on the road. Trying to remember. Oh, hold up. Trying to catch the end of this first half of the Miami game. It's close, man. Corey Batoon, Eddie, I thought I actually responded to that email for you. Eddie, the Corey Batoon hire was actually really underrated. Really, really underrated. He's a guy that, everywhere he's been has steadily increased his team statistics. He steadily increased his team's play. So I think that was a name that Missouri fans probably weren't thrilled about and probably didn't even know who he was. But if you would do a deep dive into him, you realize that everywhere he's been, he's transformed his unit, right? Like boom, 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 steadily improved every single year. So, and that's good for Missouri, especially considering Missouri loses so much, not just defensively, but offensively too, like on both sides of the ball. So I think it's a really good hire. I think the schedule early on is really favorable for the Tigers. I think Auburn's a very winnable game. I think, honestly, Eddie, when I did my schedule preview for Missouri, and don't hold me to this, but I think I said the 2 biggest games in their schedule are actually Alabama and Oklahoma. Like how they fare in those 2 games will kind of dictate their season. Because here's the thing, Eddie, you start 8-0. If you manage to start 8-0, all you've got to do is probably go like 2-2 down the stretch and you're in the playoff. If you go 3-1 down the stretch, you are in the playoff because that 12-team playoff, man, I'm telling you, you can get in at 10-2. You might be the 11 seed or the 10 seed, but who cares? Who cares what seed you are? You were in the playoff with a shot for a national championship. So that's my take. Eddie, I hope that answers your question. Auburn's very winnable. I'm not completely sold on Auburn yet. They still got a lot of issues they've got to work out. If I had to pick right now, I'm not predicting anything. I'm picking Missouri over Auburn right now. Could change, but that's who I would take. A&M and Alabama, would not be shocked to see Missouri split one of those. I still think A&M is probably the more winnable game, considering they've got a new coach. They're trying to figure everything out. Alabama isn't going to have this major fall off like everybody thinks, or maybe like everybody wants. Kalen DeVore is a heck of a coach. They've still got a veteran quarterback in Jalen Milroe. I'm not sold on Alabama just going from this team that was a play away from the national championship last year to a 7-8 win team. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. They might struggle more than usual, and they might go, say, 10-2, which for Alabama is a horrible season. 9-3, the sky would be falling. But for most teams, that's not a bad year. And for most teams with a new head coach, that's not a bad year. But Eddie, Missouri is going to be fine. They are a college football playoff contender, and I will stand by that. Brady, what about Bobby Boucher? I do. What you want to talk about, like, talk about second half player, honestly. You see some guys that are like, they show up in the first half, struggle in the second half, or vice versa. Like Bobby Boucher, man, like he was like, in the Bourbon Bowl was like, I don't even know how to describe it. That was like peak athleticism in that game, without a doubt. It was unbelievable. To come in fresh, like to come in, didn't even play in the first. It wasn't like he got reps. He just showed up and then made that type of an impact. And then Coach Klein. I mean, you got to give Coach Klein some credit too, like for coming back and, devising, getting his guts back, drawing up that play. I mean, the whole thing, man, the Mud Dogs. I mean, that is a true American story right there. That's a true heartwarming story in all of sports history. So, unfortunately, not going to be selected in the first round. I don't think his mother would be okay with that, but maybe later, maybe more later picks. And if anything, we gotta hope surely that he'll get picked by the Saints. It's only the respectful, the only right team for Bobby Boucher to play for would be the Saints. All right, let's see here. A couple other questions here. A couple of you guys were just kind of sharing your predictions in the mock drafts we went through, which is awesome. Love that. Clement, real quick, I'll touch on that. Glad that Reggie Bush got his Heisman back. Absolutely. Well-deserved, long overdue and well-deserved. It really frustrated me that he never got it back until now. I get it. I get what, it's one of those things where it's like, what Reggie Bush did to get his Heisman taken away wasn't even that bad to begin with. The NCAA was just trying to show how powerful and mighty they are. But the thing that NCAA has now figured out is they know they don't hold any power anymore. The NCAA with the NIL and paying players and rights deals and sponsorships and all these different things, the NCAA has no power anymore. They are a weakling. They are just a formality. And so I think they kind of finally recognize that. They're like, look, man, what we didn't give Reggie Bush the Heisman for is fully legal now. Everybody's doing it, and they've probably been doing it since the Reggie Bush days, and we just turned a blind eye. So I'm very glad that he got it back. It's very well deserved that he got it back. It's long overdue for that. I'm glad you brought that up because I was actually gonna forget to do that. But so thank you, Clement. But yeah, it's about time. It's about time. And I remember Johnny Manziel put a thing out like last year. It was like, I'm going to stop. Not that anybody missed him too much, but like, I'm going to stop showing up to the Heisman ceremony. I'm going to stop contributing to Heisman things until they give Reggie Bush his trophy back. And they finally did. And again, well-deserved in that essence. Let's see. Let's see here. A couple other names popping up. Scotty's Colorado is just crazy with the transfer portal. Prime is just doing exactly what former Texas State head coach Jake Spavital did. Got fired for the Colorado situation is interesting to me, and I can't remember the player who just transferred out. I'm blanking on the name, but he basically came out and said, look, I want to go to a school that's actually going to develop me. I want to go to a school that isn't so focused on clicks, isn't so focused on social media, isn't so focused on brands. I want to go to a school that actually takes football seriously, in essence, is what he said, and is going to make me into a player that can succeed at the next level. And I thought that was really interesting to hear that out of the player's mouth. Someone that was in the program, that was a really interesting comment to make. Because I took a lot of guts, first off, to make that comment. But I think it speaks – I think it confirms what a lot of us already knew. And it was that not that Colorado doesn't take football seriously, but if you're looking to become a true NFL player, if you're looking to hone your skills, if you're looking to be treated well, Colorado's not the place for you. It is a program that is very focused on social media. It's focused on developing brands. And look, I'm all for these players getting some money, right? Like they're focused on giving these players money. They're focusing on finding ways to get these young men some money to succeed in life. Good for them. But the point for you being there is to play football. And if you're not teaching good fundamentals, if you're not teaching good development, you're going to continue to go 4-8. And Colorado is only going to keep Prime along for so long when he continues to go 4-8. Like, You look at last year when they blew out like 36-7 lead or whatever at halftime against Stanford. That was absurd. That was ridiculous. When they got thrashed by Oregon, Oregon was elite. They were 10 times better than Colorado and will be so again this year. But, I like what Dan Lanning's, halftime speech was. It goes, we play to win. We play to play the game. They're playing for clicks. They like the attention. And it's one of my favorite quotes, man, is beware the quiet man. Beware the quiet man, because the people that are quiet, the people that wait in the shadows, the people that just sit back and take everything in but don't say a word, those are the most dangerous people. Those are the most dangerous programs. The people that are loud and promoting themselves nonstop and clearly trying to put more focus on something that isn't what they're meant to be there for, those are the ones that don't always pan out all that well. You don't see Georgia doing that. You don't see Alabama doing that. You don't see Ohio State doing that. Beware the quiet man. Colorado, far from quiet. And I do think it's interesting that all that news is coming out of Colorado. And then you got like Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter being like, "Yo, DM us. Like if you want to come to Colorado, you need to talk to us. This isn't last chance you." And I thought that was interesting too. Like, who are they, man? I don't know. It's a mess. It's a mess. Needless to say, Colorado will not have a great season in 2024. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of the Buffaloes this year. Scotty, great question on the mock draft. I love this one. Players that are going to be sneaky in the second round that missed the first round. I really like Troy Franklin. Out of Oregon. Speaking of Oregon, great wide receiver, great deep threat wide receiver that I think is going to be taken in the second round. And I think he's going to do very well there. At the quarterback position, I think Michael Penix has, I don't know, man. Bo Nix, Michael Penix are both going to be taken in the second round probably. Could see that. I don't know on either of their ceilings, though. My gut says both of them are going to be busts. I hope I'm wrong. But they're going to be one of those picks in the second round that I'm going to keep my close eye on in the offseason just because of the boom or bust possibility with both of them. But Troy Franklin, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, all guys that are going to be pretty dangerous there. Just a few to list. And then running backs, Scotty, that's a great question too. Like you're going to start seeing, we didn't have a single running back taken off the board because there really aren't any high quality running backs in the draft this year. But one of them is going to end up being great. Blake Corum, Jonathan Brooks, like who's it going to be at running back? They're probably your top two running backs. So who's it going to be at the running back position that gets selected in the second round? Because at least one of them will be that comes out and is like, man, wish we had taken a chance on them in the first round. Kind of like Dan Campbell did on Jahmyr Gibbs last year. Gibbs was probably going to be a first round selection last year, but not many people had him selected in the top 10. Lions took him at like number 8. A lot of people had Jahmyr Gibbs going at like 20th, 25th, somewhere down there, somewhere low first round. He went high, and Jahmyr Gibbs was phenomenal. So what player running back-wise is going to be that guy? Could it be Brooks? Could it be Corum? Could it be somebody else? Those are just a handful of players that I would watch out for in the second round in day 2 that could end up being those type of steals. Love that question. Excellent question. Brady, real quick. Purdue should be improved. Schedule's tough. 10 returning starters. Brady, I'm going to be fully honest with you. I haven't done as deep of a dive into Purdue as I should. Hasn't happened yet. But what I do know about them is that obviously they're in year 2 under Walters. In theory, that means they're going to take a bit of a step forward. But that means in theory. And you're right. I have seen the schedule. And the schedule is very tough. And that's what's so frustrating is sometimes, you hear me say this all the time. This team was not nearly as bad as their record shows. That could be Purdue next year. Like Purdue very well could end up with another losing record, and people are going to go, oh, that's another bad year for Purdue. And you go, no, listen, like, they weren't that bad. Like they were better, but they just faced such a brutal schedule that they were nowhere near the position to beat the teams that are obviously better than them. 10 returning starters is not good by any means. They still got to work out some kinks offensively. That was kind of my biggest gripe last year. Couple bright spots, sure, but Walters is a defensive guy. He's going to figure that out. You got to have an offense to complement it. We'll have our prediction for them soon. It's coming up. It's not going to be very far from now. But I would not expect a big year from Purdue, unfortunately. Unfortunately for you, I will say. Let's see here. From Doggy real quick. We'll go through a couple more, and then we'll call it a night. Coming up on an hour and a half on this Wednesday night. And then we'll let you guys be. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be back with another video on Monday, not a live stream, but videos. We're going to take a couple of days off to regroup, to plan some more content, guys. We got a lot. We got a whole calendar over here with just all these dates planned. And then prediction season with it coming up. That's a lot of prep coming into that. So we're really pumped to share it with you. So we'll close it out with Doggy with his 2 questions here. The Oregon game showed that Colorado wasn't ready to take on the big dogs. The Stanford game showed they outright suck. They didn't win a single game from that point. And you're right. I mean, I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. You're right. No one expected Colorado to be able to hang with the big dogs. USC at the time, Oregon, Washington. I know they didn't play, but those type of guys. The Stanford game should have been a win. It was a team that I think culturally, like from a team culture perspective, got complacent. They go, we're up 36-7. We're up 29 points. We've got it in the bag. Even if we make a mistake here and there, even if we let them score back-to-back touchdowns, we're still up. What was that, like 15 points? We're fine. And Stanford, credit to them, Troy Taylor, they didn't give up. They just chipped away, and then won it. So I agree. And that is a game, though, really, though, that when you lose a game like that, when you lose a game that you're up by that big, you think you've got it in the bag, and you lose it in overtime in heartbreaking fashion, those are games that are hard to bounce back from. Those are games that the next week, they're still on your mind. They're still lingering. And those are games that can make or break a team mentally. Mentally, those are games that can affect you. Those hangover games that we talk about. Sometimes hangovers only last a week. Sometimes hangovers last the rest of the year. And that's a great example of it. Another question from Doggy here was, I'll give the Buffs credit for exposing the 3 non-conference opponents. TCU was proven to be a fluke. And I was literally thinking about that game the other day. I kid you not. I was thinking about that game the other day. And I actually went back and watched a lot of it. And I was like, obviously TCU, we all knew was going to take a step back. I didn't think TCU probably deserved, what were they, like 17th? Probably didn't deserve to be ranked in the top 20 to start the year when they lost that much production from the team that was the national runner-up. We knew they were going to take a step back, but I did not expect TCU to be that big of a fluke. I think I had them like at 8-4 last year, back when we predicted in the summer. I don't think anybody saw TCU having a losing record. Step back, yes. Losing record, no. And I think that was just a classic case for me, almost like it got in everybody's head. Like, I think TCU was better than what we saw against Colorado. I don't think they should have lost that game. Colorado outplayed them, plain and simple. But I think it was Colorado. We hyped them up. Everybody hyped them up all summer long, and they were ready. Like, Dion had them ready to go. Like, this is now your chance to show the world that we mean business. And I think for a while, a lot of us thought they did. Holy crap, they just beat TCU. Then they crushed Nebraska. And then they survived Colorado State with game day there. It's like, whoa, hold on. Maybe Colorado isn't that bad. TCU, on the other hand, they had to hear it all off season. They got their heads. We're the national runner-ups. We lost everybody. We're not going to be as good as last year. And now we're playing this Colorado team that everybody's treating like a god. Oh, no, what are we going to do? And then when Colorado came out there and started throwing punches, and not literally, but when they started like racking up the score, we're like, wow, this team maybe is good. Gets in their head, they lose the game. So yes and no for sure. Yes and no for sure. And let's see. And you're saying TCU season was a fluke that deserved to be in the final, but we quite the outlier. Yeah, like I agree with what you said. That it's not labeling. It doesn't mean they didn't deserve the wins. But when you go back and look at TCU 2022 and you look what happened to them, they had like, 8, 9, 10 games decided by one possession, lost the Big 12 championship to Kansas State, like so many games at one possession, and that's what we knew they couldn't replicate. You cannot play that many one-possession games and expect to replicate your success the next year. It just was not possible. And so, it wasn't that they didn't deserve to win. They did deserve to win those games. Absolutely, they did. But they played it really, really close. One play goes the other way, they're not in the playoff. They're not in the championship. Everything changes. So that's kind of the funny thing about that. So no, not that they didn't deserve it, but 9 times out of 10, you play that many one-possession games, you're not winning all of them like TCU did. We knew that heading in to 2023. Last thing here, Doggy, I like that. Deeper dive in Northwestern and Colorado, how Northwestern kind of rose to the occasion. Despite all the stuff that happened in the offseason, Colorado did not. I I like that. I like that idea a lot, actually. So I will write that down, actually. Yeah, I like that. We got a list of content coming your way, but that'll be one that we'll add to the list for sure. Or at least something along the lines of a cultural aspect and what really, how the impact of a locker room can have that big of an effect on your season for sure. But with that being said, guys, we have hit the hour and a half mark. And everybody, it's a Wednesday night. It's hard to get a bunch of people on here. First live stream we've had in a while. Everybody's kind of still groggy, I guess. But needless to say, we will be back. We'll be back in about a month or so with another live stream solely dedicated to college football, solely dedicated to taking your calls. We'll be back here with that. Then we've got prediction season. That's going to last us all the way to the beginning of the season. And then after that, it's off to the races. Football is back. And again, this mock draft, the NFL draft beginning tomorrow night. Again, I think it's exactly what we needed. That, to me, is the official start of the season for me. And we are full-fledged mode right after that. Again, we'll be back here with more content, back to college football content on Monday, and we hope to see you there. So, guys, thank you all so much for being here. Doggy, Brady, Scotty, my man Anthony, Flobe. Who else did we have? I think we said Scotty a second ago, but Flobe, Robert, Eddie, Clement. All of you guys, we appreciate you being here, all big-time members of our GE Nation. We couldn't do it without you. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, share the channel. Let's continue to grow this GE Nation before the season starts. Let's continue to grow these numbers so we have as many people in here talking college football for what's going to be one heck of a 2024 season. So you guys have a great rest of your night. Enjoy the NFL draft tomorrow, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert. Good night, everybody.